I'm Rip Esselstyn, and you're listening to the Plan Strong podcast. We know Chuck Carroll as the weight loss champion and as the host of the popular Exam Room podcast. What you may or may not know is that for the last couple of years, Chuck has also been battling some major health issues and a still unresolved chronic illness that has taken a massive toll on him both physically and emotionally. Today, he opens up and gives us an update on his current health status and lets everybody know that even when we're seemingly doing everything right, chronic pain and illness can affect anyone. His honesty and resilience highlight the power of vulnerability and community, making this episode a compelling mix of inspiration, reality, and hope. Coming up right after this message from Plan Strong. Before we launch into today's episode, I want to give you a heads up about an incredible year ahead for our entire Plan Strong community. 2026 is going to be our biggest year yet, and if you've been waiting for the perfect moment to immerse yourself in real food, real learning, and real transformation, this is going to be it. We are hosting 4 of our signature Plan Strong events next year. The first one on the docket is our Plan Strong retreat. It's in April. It's going to be 6 unforgettable days in Black Mountain, North Carolina, where you get to learn, move, eat outrageously good meals, and reconnect with what matters most. Next up is our Vital Signs in June. This is our brand new Food is Medicine conference. It's going to take place at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. If you want to understand how real food can change lives, this is the place to be. Next up, our 15th annual Plan Stock. This will be in the fall. It's our legendary weekend of inspiration, community, celebration. Stay tuned for the full lineup. It's going to be something special. And we're going to round out the year in Sedona for our fall retreat. This is a stunning, soul-filled experience in the Red Rocks where deep rest, learning, and real food nourishment come together in one unforgettable week. Now, if you are looking for a simple place to start, something that meets you right where you are, we have created the Plan Strong 1-week meal plan bundle. Think of this as the training wheels for this lifestyle. It's a full week of delicious meals that are powered by real food made from whole plants, paired with guidance, structure, and support. It makes the first steps super easy, very doable, and repeatable, so you can feel the difference for yourself. Now, if you want to experience any of our 2026 events or grab this 1-week bundle, just head on over to planstrong.com and explore what speaks to you. I'd love to meet you, feed you, and support you every step of the way. See ya in 2026. Today, I am honored to welcome back to the Plan Strong podcast, Chuck Carroll. Chuck is a beloved voice in the plant-based movement and host of the Exam Room podcast. Today, he opens up about his early dependence on fast food, the 10,000 calorie days that pushed his weight to 420 pounds, and the pivotal decisions that set him on a new path towards health and a whole lot of purpose. While surgery and plant-based eating helped to normalize his blood pressure, stabilize his weight, and restore his vitality, Chuck also shares a vulnerable part of his story that despite doing everything right, he's now, a couple decades later, navigating a complex chronic illness with no clear diagnosis. Health journeys aren't linear, and sometimes illnesses arrive without any explanation. And by talking openly about his struggles, Chuck has found community, connection, and inner strength, and has created space for others to feel less alone in their own uncertainty. So please welcome back Chuck Carroll. Chuck Carroll, I want to welcome you back to the Plant Strong podcast. It has been a beat and a half.
I'd say a beat and 3/4, man. It has definitely been a while. It's good to see you again.
Oh, I mean, just to give you an idea how long it's been. So we're approaching episode, I don't know, 320-ish, 330-ish.
Wow.
You were number 7.
I was among the early ones, and I still remember recording that show, man. I'm still forever in your debt because I think you honestly helped launch my career in this plant space with that show, man. So thank you so much. It's still going strong, as are you, my man.
Well, listen, it's fantastic to reconnect with you in this medium. I know you and we've seen a bunch of each other over the last couple of years. You had me take part in the live exam room podcast in New York City.
That's right.
I believe it was maybe a year and a half ago. And then I think it was it's so funny. Time is flying by. So I get the years and the dates a little confused, and then you had the whole Esselstyn family, my father, Essie, my mother, Ann, Jane, and myself. And you guys honored us with a really incredible, can you remember exactly what it was that you guys honored us with?
I think I don't remember the name of the award, to be honest with you, but I know that the night was the exam room tribute to the Esselstyns, and it was just such an unforgettable night. Everybody was just having a great time, and we absolutely packed the National Press Club in downtown Washington, D.C. It was so much fun. And still, no offense to you, but the highlight of that night goes to your mom tugging that big old tire across a tire the size of a semi-tractor trailer tire. It was huge. And she handled it with ease.
Yeah. And she was 89 at that point. Now she's 90 and dragging bigger tires.
Look, man, there's a truck pull down the street this weekend. So maybe I can get her down here to Southern Maryland at the time. Let's see how she does, man.
Now, are you in DC right now or no?
I'm in Southern Maryland, so I'm like an hour and a half outside of the city. So my wife and I have ourselves a little slice of country out here where we can get out of the chaos. We kind of like it.
That's lovely.
Oh yeah.
So for people that didn't listen to the first episode that I had with Chuck, I highly recommend you go back, you listen to it. It was episode number 7, and basically it was about how he is crushing his old fast food addiction. Chuck, since you do it much better than I do, let's just kind of just to revisit, because the audience has grown tremendously since 2019 when we had you on the podcast. You give us the Reader's Digest version of kind of where you were and then where you went.
Yeah. So at my heaviest, I was 420 pounds. And you mentioned like fast food addiction, and that was me to a T. I was eating 10,000 calories of evil every single day.
And so 420 pounds. And how tall are you?
5'5" on a good day, my friend. Yeah.
That's substantial. Wow. That's something else.
I was definitely, as my friend used to say, a gentleman of larger carriage. And so it was a 66-inch waist with a 6XL shirt. And I was miserable, as anybody would be at that size. Your confidence is shot. Your dating prospects aren't that great. And, you feel taken advantage of, or like you have to be this larger than life character. And, let's not forget the fact that your health is in the toilet as well. You're talking about going on blood pressure medication in middle school. And then, uncontrolled blood pressure, 180 over 120, and just going up and up and up along with my waistline. And then knowing, that heart disease, like so many other families, definitely affects mine on both sides of the family. And, Rip, it got to a point where in my early 20s, I couldn't take more than 10, 15 steps without feeling like I was going to have a heart attack myself. And, didn't really know what to do because my addiction to fast food was so great that I couldn't go a single day without it. And then just eventually made the decision out of desperation to have weight loss surgery, and then never returned to fast food, though that did not fix everything that was ailing me either. And it was only until a number of years after that that I really discovered the power of plant-based eating. And then that took all of the weight that was stubbornly still hanging on to me, and even going back up the scale after the weight loss surgery a little bit, off that goes. Blood pressure, cholesterol, all of those just fall right into place, and my life takes this incredible turn into leaving traditional media to do the exam room.
And you, just so we can get an idea, you were 27 when you were, 420 pounds, and you decided to have the gastric bypass surgery. Is that right?
Great memory. Yeah, it was literally on my 27th birthday that part one of that procedure was done. They had to go in and insert what they call a IVC filter, because I was at such a high risk for developing a blood clot after the procedure. They wanted to make sure I didn't have a stroke. So on my 27th birthday, I was in the hospital getting the filter put in my vein. And then 3 days later, I wound up having the full-blown gastric bypass.
And okay. And what was of all the fast food restaurants, what was, like, is there one that you still dream about a little bit because it had such a pull on you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I dream about it. Not pleasant dreams anyway. They're more like hellish nightmares today, but Taco Bell, man.
the bell. Wait, what's it? Run for the border, baby.
Brother, let me tell you something. If I could run at that point, I would have been running. But man, I mean, I was definitely at the drive-thru every single day. There was variations with the rest of my menu, but at Taco Bell, it had to be every single day. And I was on a first name basis with them, ordering $20 of food at a time and trying to pass it off.
And what would you order from Taco Bell? What was your go-to?
Oh man, order? I still remember. I mean, it had to be the same thing every single day. It was 2 7-layer burritos, 2 beef grilled stuffed burritos, cheese quesadilla, a large nachos Bel Grande, a cheesy potato burrito, which was just like chili with nacho cheese and fried potato wedges rolled up in a tortilla, and they called it a cheesy potato burrito. And because I was such a good customer, without fail, they would usually give me a free caramel empanada just to wash everything down. And man, that would hit the spot.
I am fascinated. And where would you, all right, you got the bag in your hand, you've paid for the goods.
Yeah.
Now what do? Do you drive with one hand and you start eating, or do you drive to a park, or where do you go to eat this Taco Bell explosion?
At my absolute worst, I was living in the basement of the townhome that I grew up in Northern Virginia. So I would just go down there, shut the door, and plop on the TV and, put all the contraband out on the coffee table with a bunch of hot sauce packets and just go to town one by one, just devouring everything that was in front of me. I didn't want to, let people see me eat. And to this day, honestly, that's something I still struggle with. I feel weird when I'm the only one eating, even if it's something like a salad. That's a little psychological affliction that I've not yet gotten over.
Yeah. And give me an idea. How long would it take you to kind of plow through that Taco Bell, dinner extravaganza?
All right. So it's kind of like taking off in an airplane, right? At first you got like a pretty steep climb and I'm plowing through everything. And then when you get to that cruising altitude, the incline, levels out a little bit. So I slow down a little bit. And so by the time I get to the cheesy potato burrito, which was my absolute favorite, I always save that for last. We're about 30 good minutes into this feast. And so, it was a half an hour commitment followed by like 3 hours of inability to breathe. So oh my God, no. You're just so full. It's like, you can't move, you can't breathe. You're just going to have to sit there.
Did you ever calculate how many calories were in that, Taco Bell bonanza that you were?
Yeah, man. Not just the calories, the sodium too. It was almost 5,000 calories in that one meal and more than 10,000 milligrams of sodium. And I mean, you just want to talk about shooting yourself in the nutritional foot, brother. It was horrible.
Oh my God. And that's just one meal.
One meal.
And so So,
No.
oh my God, do you know that the upper limit, according to the Institute of Medicine, for sodium intake is about, well, upper limit is 2,100.
Mm-hmm.
So you just exceeded that by almost fivefold in that one meal.
Well, you see, I'm aware of that now.
Okay.
Maybe not so much back then. And even if I was, like, I wouldn't have even cared because I almost prided myself in my ability to consume mass quantities of food, and the worse for me, the better. And yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a mind game that I would play with myself. Like, yeah, look at what I did.
Are-
You know,
So would you do this 7 days a week, five
Oh
days a
yeah,
week,
7 days a
7 days a
week,
week?
and some days it would be 2 times a day at Taco Bell, you know? And on the days when it wasn't a 2 a day, there was usually a Boston Market trip in there, maybe a McDonald's trip in there, maybe a cheesesteak from Jerry Subs, maybe, the occasional Burger King trip. Like, there was nothing healthy that was happening at all,
So
ever.
so we're probably spending close to $50 a day on fast food.
Right about there, because Taco Bell alone was 20 and maybe 10, so it was probably 40. And mind you, I'm not making a very good salary at that point. I'm, just starting my career in radio, maybe making like 30 grand, 28 grand, something like that. And living at home rent free. So all of my money went to blood pressure medication and fast food, man.
So I think I've told you this numerous times, but you have, I am so jealous of your voice. You have the most amazing voice. And you just said that you were doing radio.
Yeah.
Once you had the gastric bypass, you started going, well, so let's revisit this and then I'll continue this thought. So you had the gastric bypass.
Yeah.
How long after the gastric bypass was it until you discovered whole food plant-based nutrition, and how?
It was literally 5 years, maybe a little more than 5 years after the gastric bypass that I discovered whole food plant based. There was a large gap in there. So the biggest thing that I made up my mind to do coming out of the gastric bypass was never to go back to fast food.
Yeah.
Ever, because of the epiphany that I had, that I was struggling with that just as an alcoholic would, or a drug addict would, with their vices. I knew that if I were to reintroduce that into my diet, that it would just become another one of those failed diet attempts. And the surgeon even told me when I went in for the initial consultation, if you gain the weight back, don't worry, we can do what they call a revision surgery and staple your stomach a second time. And that just did not sound too appealing to me. So never went back to fast food. And
Yeah.
yeah. But nonetheless, the scale started to creep back up. And wouldn't you believe, though, it's like as many morbidly obese patients as went through my surgeon's door, he still told me, after I had reached the lowest weight at his office anyway, that I should eat a cheeseburger. And I'm just like, what? It was like, it was a total disconnect. And
Big time.
I never did. But nonetheless, I still didn't know what it meant to really eat healthy at that point.
Yeah.
Ground turkey to me was healthy. Chicken was healthy to me. Things like that.
Yeah. So you went from being a radio host to, what did you do? You became a reporter for CBS in Washington. Is that correct?
That is true. I started doing sports reporting initially. Did that for a few years. Was doing radio shows with a number of the NFL players here in town, and then wound up switching over to news for CBS, and was covering everything from the Pope visiting town and chasing around the Pope mobile, to day-to-day fires and unfortunately murders, and all of the police blotter type stuff that takes a toll on your mental health, to be honest with you.
And I think it's so appropriate that you kind of landed as being the host of the Exam Room podcast, brought to you by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Just considering, the health journey that you have been on, what at your lowest weight, what did you get down to, from 420 to what?
140. That's the lowest healthy weight, I should say. And then stuff happens and I go even further down the scale.
Okay. Okay. Well, so this is where I want to now kind of take this conversation. So you've been pretty open that I think it was after you had the Esselstyns to Washington D.C.
Hmm.
And it had been going on, I think, but even before that, but you've been having some health struggles.
I had been, and I did my very best to hide it that night, man. But I definitely felt like I was on another planet.
Well, I want you to know I could not tell one iota. You are such the consummate professional that
Thank you.
I thought you were like, you know, right on, right on. Chuck Carroll was, 10 out of 10, man. You were
Thank you, babe.
crushing it. But so,
Thank you.
so behind the scenes, what is going on with you in your life? And I think it's important, and I appreciate you being open about this, because there's people out there that are listening right now that I'm sure are going through their own health struggles right
Hmm.
now. And I
Yeah.
think that it's something that none of us should be ashamed of. And I just love to know what they were, how you dealt with it, and where you are now today.
Yeah, it's been we're about 3 years into it at this point. So unfortunately, I've fallen into the chronic illness window, and it's been very, very, very difficult to diagnose and figure out exactly what's going on. And it started, way back in 2024. What is this, 25? So
Mm.
23, the spring of 2023, early 2023. So almost 3 years with extreme bloating. I mean, like just doubled over in pain. Like you feel like your stomach's going to
Mm.
rip open because there's just no room for anything else. And I'm dealing with that. And then heartburn sinks in. And then it was an inability to breathe, as the months roll on. And nobody's able to figure out what's going on. But things really hit ahead when I was out in first Omaha. I was doing like a little mini tour, did a speaking engagement in Omaha, and then flew out to LA. And I was going to record some episodes with Dr. Christy Funk. But she unfortunately was sick herself at the time. And so um, I just remember getting out there and really feeling like my chest was on fire. Like it was like somebody had opened up my chest, poured gasoline in it, and lit a match. And on top of that, I couldn't breathe. And I mean, literally, like no matter what I tried, I just could not breathe whatsoever. And I remember texting with Christy, who's got a fever well over 100 at that point, and she's feeling like garbage. I'm like, listen, I'm really lost. This is what's going on with me. What would you recommend? Where can I go? And God bless her. She set me up with some of the greatest professionals in Los Angeles. She told me exactly where to go. She told them that I was coming. And, and I had a bunch of scans and blood work done, and everything came back normal, which was a really
That must be kind of a little bit disheartening, because
yeah.
you feel so awful and you want to be able to actually pinpoint, okay, this is what's going on.
Right. I mean, it's a relief and a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
And another scan, this one a little bit more comprehensive, involves dye and a big old CAT scan machine and the whole, kit and caboodle. Normal. And I'm like, what is going on? Just one x-ray technician at a what I my family would call a doc in the box, a walk-in care center for emergency care, before I even got in contact with Christy, said, well, this might be a hiatal hernia. If you look really closely, you can see it. I sent those scans to Christy, who sent it on to one of the top hernia surgeons in LA. Neither of them saw a hernia, but those are really hard to diagnose on a x-ray anyway. So I'm like sweating bullets. She prescribes me an inhaler, thinking that, well, maybe this is, like some sort of asthmatic attack. And I took one hit of that. And again, it was like the worst fire you could ever possibly imagine. And I'm like, I don't even know how I can go home, because the x-ray tech was like, well, look, if this is a hernia, a hiatal hernia, you do not want to fly. He's like, it will make things 20 times worse for you. But I didn't know how to get home or if I was dying or what. So I wake up early one morning, just couldn't breathe, hop on the first flight I could, the earliest flight that I could, make it over to LAX and fly home. And, go to the gastroenterologist here. He puts me on the highest dose of, PPIs that you possibly can, all kinds of acid blockers. None of that seems to do much of anything. And my symptoms get worse and worse and worse. And he's got no answers. My primary care physician, Rip, I mean, I know this is a long story, brother.
Well, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
My primary care physician, he's sending me here, there, like I'm going to allergists. We're trying to figure things out. All of the tests keep coming back normal. The primary care doc is like, I've done all that I can for you. I don't know what else to do. I finally get on the list to see a doctor at Johns Hopkins, which is, I thought, like striking gold. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm going to go see the wizards up in Johns Hopkins. Simultaneously, I did have one other study done at George Washington University Hospital where I had that weight loss surgery all those years ago that showed that maybe my gallbladder was a little bit sluggish, and that sometimes can account for the symptoms that I was having. And at this point, a new symptom had arisen where I would feel drunk or stoned every single time I would eat anything or drink anything, even water. And once that set in for the day, it was there around the clock, including when we were all on stage together at the press club.
Wow.
Yeah, I really felt completely out of it. And because you don't know what's going on, there's an incredible amount of anxiety that goes with it. And that makes the symptoms that much worse.
Yeah, I could see how that would definitely exacerbate them. I'm just going to stop you for a second because, the thing that jumps out to me is this somehow related to the gastric bypass surgery and just something related to not absorbing something, being deficient in something. But anyway, I mean, I have no idea, but that would be the first thing that I would be looking at.
Indeed, you're a wise man. So that's exactly why I went to GW, to my old surgeon's office. Come to find out, he had previously retired. And the guy who replaced him was like, "Oh yeah, your surgeon had a reputation for being a bit of a butcher." I was like, "Oh, well, that's refreshing." But he did not think, at least at that point, that the gastric bypass procedure was the culprit, and that it was going to be the gallbladder. And I remember asking him so many times about whether or not this could be a byproduct of the hiatal hernia. And he got really curt with me. He's like, "I don't want to hear any more about the hiatal hernia." He was one of those like my way or highway kind of guys.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I guess it's not the hernia. So I make the decision, because I'm desperate, to have my gallbladder removed. Sometimes, you're in the hospital one night. Sometimes you get discharged the same day. I was there 2 nights, and I remember like waking up and like praying that this was going to be the solution for everything. And no, I remember they like just tried to give me some vegetable broth, and that like sent me to a whole other planet. And they thought that I was coding on the table. But it was just an anxiety attack because the symptoms were coming back even after this procedure. And and I just had made the decision to stop eating at this point, because every time I would eat or drink, things just got so much worse. So at this point, on a very good day, I was eating 200 calories and my weight plummeted all the way down to 114.
What?
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny you say that. Like, how much would you say you weighed when you were when you did our event in DC with the Esselstyn family?
I was probably like in the mid 120s at that point. I was on the thin side for sure.
Yeah. You were pretty dinky.
Yeah, dinky. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, pretty dinky. And then I had 10 more pounds to drop after that. And get all the way down to 114. I mean, it was like I would get PB2, the unsugared kind. It was literally just dehydrated, defatted peanuts. And then, I would just try to eat 2 tablespoons of that a day, and that was all the calories I would get, and then maybe 12 ounces of water. So I was dehydrated, I was emaciated, I was, malnourished, couldn't even really tolerate vitamins very well, and just had grown so very weak. So much so that by the time I got to Johns Hopkins, about a week and a half, 2 weeks after I had the gallbladder removed, I asked the doctor there, the gastroenterologist, whether or not I was dying. And she said, I don't know. And I was like, oh. And I remember my wife had just had surgery herself, and her mom was very sick at that point. She was listening in on speakerphone, and she just like piped in, well, that's not very reassuring. And it wasn't. And I left there feeling very deflated, because if Hopkins can't figure out what's going on, then who could? And
And what when was that you went to Hopkins and she told you that? How
this
long
would have
ago?
been very early 2024. So maybe January of 2024. It was only a couple of months after our show at the press club. And yeah.
Well, what in the world have you been doing for the last year?
I got lucky. I'm very fortunate to have such a wealth of resources and connections, and just incredible people who have been on the show and have subsequently become friends of mine, that I reached out to Dr. Stephen Carlson at the Mayo Clinic, who
Mm.
had been a guest. And I explained to him what was going on with me. And I was like, look, man, I can't eat, I can't breathe, I'm drunk 24/7. Like, we have ruled literally everything out, including what is I think it's called like brewer syndrome, where like your body produces alcohol
Mm.
after you
Mm.
eat sometimes. And so that had been ruled out, which is pretty wacky. Um, and he's like, look, you're going through a lot, but the first thing you need to know is that sometimes there are no answers. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, sugar, here we are at the Mayo Clinic level, and I'm getting there may not be an answer talk. Well, I get in there, and my wait was not very long. I know some people wait a very, very, very long time to get in there, but he really, pushed me through. God bless him. Um, and we had a battery of workups. At first, they were thinking it was going to be some sort of diaphragmatic dysfunction. We also looked at what they call a DGBI, which is a disorder of the gut brain interaction, which
Mm.
is very much playing a role here, come to find out. And that's, learning to work with that and breathing techniques to really help calm the anxiety, have helped substantially. Um, and so what we're thinking at this point, flash forward, is that it is just the perfect storm of garbage that was going on with me. Number one, um, DGBI. Number two, hiatal hernia was in fact and is in fact there. Sometimes it will show up on a scan, sometimes it won't, because they have what are called sliding hernias, and it's
Uh-huh.
just a matter of how the body is positioned. And so they caught it on two different tests after so many others had shown that there wasn't a hiatal hernia there. And so that's literally my stomach protruding up outward through the diaphragm and into the abdominal wall, which explains why I felt such pressure on my chest and why I
Mm.
couldn't breathe, because my lungs were being pressured. They could fully inflate, but there was that pressure there that gives you that sensation of, oh my God, I can't breathe. Subsequently, the hiatal hernia can also cause an exorbitant amount of digestive issues and GI things. So all of that reflux that I had been having, 100%, they believe that will be chalked up to the hiatal hernia. And it could be the nerve irritation right there. In rare cases, the vagus nerve, which runs parallel to the area where this hernia is also getting impacted by the hernia, and that's causing the neurologic symptoms that I've been experiencing. So that's the theory. I mean, I've been there like 7 times, 7 trips to Minnesota, and we're finally at a point now, after many, many, many tests, the majority of which have come back normal, 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 which again is completely bittersweet.
Hmm.
Has shown that this is very likely a thing. So to test the theory, what they want to do is actually put a feeding tube into the portion of my stomach that has been stapled off for 15, 16 years now. So imagine pre-surgery, your stomach is this, right?
So for those that are listening and not able to view this, you're holding up your fist, and
Yep.
it's your stomach, right?
Yep. It is.
Okay.
And so when you have gastric bypass, room-wide gastric bypass like I had, they go ahead and they staple off this small portion. So like that would be my thumb. Okay.
Yeah.
And this becomes your new stomach, which is elastic, and over time it will expand back out. But this is it. But part of this also is that they reroute a portion of the intestine there. That's the bypass part, and reattach it to your new stomach. So everything here that still has its normal anatomy and the intestine as it was, it's just going to lay dormant for theoretically the rest of your life, and everything will go through here, and you will bypass a portion of that intestine, which slows down the absorption of calories and fat, and unfortunately a lot of other essential nutrients like iron. And that's a big one for people who've had weight loss surgery. So problem here now is that this thing, we've got the hernia, and the stomach part is going through the diaphragm. That's issue number one. But issue number two is, think back to what the other surgeon told me at GW, like, oh, your old surgeon was a bit of a butcher. Come to find out, this pouch was a little bit larger than it should have been, which can exacerbate, because the stomach's a little bit larger than it should have been, the symptoms of the hernia. So that means maybe more of it is pushing through. And so what they're going to do to test this theory is actually go in and insert a feeding tube into this portion of my stomach. I know I'm totally covering up my face for the camera. I apologize, but I'm just demonstrating right now. Insert a feeding tube through the outside of my stomach into the portion of the stomach that's been stapled off. And so I'll be on a liquid diet, I mean, through the feeding tube for 3 months. And if my symptoms disappear, then they're going to go in and do a full-blown reversal of the gastric bypass procedure. Wow. Which is something that I very much would welcome. And so that is my hope, that is what's going on with me. It seems to make sense, because even if I don't eat, but say I do a sit-up or I sit in a position where I might be hunched over a little bit, the symptoms flare up. So to me, that tells me that there is some sort of nerve damage there that is triggering the neurologic symptoms, and to a lesser extent, the GI symptoms. I still have reflux, which is not pleasant, but the breathing techniques and everything that they've taught me at Mayo have really helped to.
When are you having this procedure?
This will be in mid-January. So I believe it is the week before the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, that's how my calendar revolves. I couldn't tell you the exact date. I just know like it's going to be around some football game.
Well, on behalf of myself and the whole Plan Strong audience, we wish you the best. Thank you. And fingers crossed that it is a raging success.
That's the plan, man.
So tell me, it's like, you're not 114 pounds right now. What have you done that's enabled you to eat food and put the weight back on?
Yeah, well, so here's the unfortunate side about this is like, I did kind of mentally just push through after I found out, okay, well, no, I'm not dying, but I certainly will if I don't start eating. I found out that my metabolism, because there was such a long stretch of time where I was not eating at all, kind of got out of whack. And by kind of, I mean severely out of whack. So that when I did begin eating a normal diet again, my plant-based diet, including Plant Strong chili, thank you very much, has been aiding me on my road to recovery. You the man, Rip. I'm not even kidding. I got like 10 boxes of it out there. It's so good once it hits your lips. But my body wants to cling to every calorie. And I am still very much plant-based. People looked at me, they're like, "You're gaining weight, man. You're back at Taco Bell." I was like, nothing could be further from the truth. And they make these like really hurtful assumptions that could not be further from the truth. But unfortunately, because the metabolism's whacked, my body's like so out of, just kilter.
Sync.
It's off kilter. Yeah. Out of sync. There you go. That's the word.
Yeah.
The weight just came back. And so now I'm up about 185. And I definitely feel like there's a lot of inflammation in my body just based off of what's going on. I got like a puffy face. But I'm still eating healthy and like, that's the blessing. And it's funny, the doctors never once said, "Oh, well, this probably wouldn't have happened if you weren't eating a plant-based diet." They're like, "Man, you're lucky you were as healthy as you were going into this, because I'm sure that had you still been eating that old Taco Bell Gorge Fest every single day, you may not be able to make it through this." And that is something that was coming from even non-plant-based doctors. So I thought that was really telling, so.
Yeah. Bravo. You've been the host of the Exam Room podcast for how long now?
We're on season 8, so that would be about 8 years.
Wow. And you've been hitting it out of the park. Did you so over the course of the last 2.5 years that you've had your health struggles, have you been able to keep the show going forward, or did you have to take a bit of a hiatus?
No, the show must go on, right? So I maybe missed 1 or 2 episodes, and those would have been on surgery days, but the rest of the time the shows were coming out like clockwork. Doing the show has actually proven to be a great distraction.
Yeah.
For me. And obviously being, in front of the microphone is something that I love. It's something that I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid. It's playtime for me.
Yeah.
And, I know that even if I'm not feeling great that day, that I have the ability to make somebody else's day better. And so I wanted to make sure that I did that for that person. And that in turn actually made me feel better. So, and that's the way that I still look at it today. I mean, I'm far from 100%, but I'm also learning that, I thought that, the body and the mind were incredibly powerful before all of this began, but now it's like, look at how resilient we all have the opportunity to be, no matter what challenges we're facing. And we are, superhumans. Like every last one of us has the ability to be a Superman or a Superwoman. And I'm learning that more and more by the day. And also that there are so many other people, Rip, out there who felt like they have been doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And still something happens. And in this case, it is literally looking like the sins of my past life have come calling once more. It's like their final hurrah, I look forward to slaying the dragon one more time, dude. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to slay the dragon and we're going to keep moving.
Well, I think that's a good way of expressing that. Maybe the sins of your past have raised their ugly head, but I have a feeling this will probably be the last time. And I think once you can get through this, it'll be, quote unquote, smooth sailing for you. And man, I can't imagine how much you're wanting that to be the case.
I am, but you know what? It's like I've kind of settled into a new normal. I've obviously thought about what happens if this surgery isn't as successful as we want. What are the next steps? I'm already thinking down the road. I've got it all planned out because, like I've surrounded myself by John Cena merchandise and his never give up hat. It's that's my motto, man. I have to keep going because I honestly believe that I was given this. I don't want to call it a privilege, but in some way it is, like, given this odyssey to inspire others and show them that they too can push through. And that's what I am to do. That's what I am to do, man.
Yeah. So are you still, like, when you're opening up your podcast, are you still referring to yourself as the Chuck Carroll, the weight loss champion?
Nope.
No. What has anything replaced that?
I'm just Chuck Carroll now.
Oh, you're just Chuck Carroll.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I will be the overall champion at some point. But no, man. There were people who, when I first started putting the weight back on, they were like, "Do you still want to call yourself the weight loss champion?" And like that is something that I had been wrestling with myself. Because at this point, no, I do not like the way that I look. And I just feel so swollen, and I tell my wife every day I look fat. She's like, "You're not fat," you know. eh, eh, she's like, "You're bloated. There's a difference." And I was like, "Yeah, I got you, but damn, like I haven't been in a 38 jeans since I was like." Like, I mean, God, coming down the scale after the weight loss surgery, like this is nuts.
Well, you probably had to go out and buy new clothes again.
I did, and I tossed a lot of my like small clothes too, just so that there would be room for them in the closet.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. And when somebody tells you like, or makes you consider like not being the weight loss champion any longer, like that hurts. And I know that it wasn't intentional on their part, and it's really not important who brought this to my attention, but um yeah, man, like that stings. But I'm gonna take that as motivation, a little bit of salt in the wound, a bitter pill to swallow. But that pain just it makes me want to work all that much harder so I can, um, get back to where I want to be.
Well, I mean, you are wearing that incredibly handsome, almost silky red button-down t-shirt. You showed up today looking, I think, pretty darn hot. And I'm wearing this kind of little ratty, V-neck, Banana Republic t-shirt.
Well, let me tell you something. You're plant strong, but you're also sexy strong, sir. I'm man enough to admit that. You are one handsome fella. All right.
Oh man. Have I told you that we got to have you back on the podcast at least once a month?
Come on, just for grins, let's do it, man. It'll be the make Rip feel good hour.
There you go. I love it. So how has your wife been throughout everything you've been through? I just, I can't imagine how tough it's been on both of you.
Dude, she's been a rock, especially because she has been going through so much herself. It's like when I was at my sickest, her mom was in the process of dying. Every day getting worse and worse with Alzheimer's, and she did. She passed away right before I had my gallbladder removed. And those two were just best friends through and through. And she had ankle surgery shortly thereafter. She had torn a bunch of ligaments in her ankle, and so she went through that. And now she's going through a shoulder surgery. And her dad moved in with us, and she's changed careers. And it's just like this woman is way stronger than I could ever possibly hope to be. And just having Julie in my corner has been an incredible blessing, an absolutely incredible blessing, because she fights harder for me than anybody I've ever known in my entire life. And I hope to be able to repay that favor for her someday, man. She is about as solid as they come.
Yeah. It's really wonderful to have a rock in your life, especially when that rock can be your spouse.
Absolutely.
Can be your partner.
Absolutely.
Let me just ask you this. You mentioned that back in the day you were living, I think, in the basement of, your parents' home, rent free. Are your parents still alive, and how are they doing? And are they a support team for you or not?
Yeah, mom's still kicking. Mom actually, and my dad is still here too. Yeah. So, mom actually took me in for a little while after the gallbladder surgery, and while Julie was recovering from her ankle surgery, because, at that point, Julie and I would have been the blind leading the blind. It's like we just could not take care of each other at that point. So it was kind of like separate. Her dad was here to help her out. And then my mom put me up for a while to help me out until I eventually got back to self-sustainability.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Chuck, tell me, the Exam Room podcast, how many episodes you at these days?
We're about to do episode number 700.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
twice. So are you coming out what? Once a week, twice a week? How often?
Twice a week, plus bonus episodes every now and then.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
So like I said, I love what I do. So we're staying busy there.
Dang.
Man.
Twice a week. What days do you usually drop?
Mondays and Wednesdays on YouTube, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays on audio podcast platforms. Easy for me to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many like downloads have you had since inception? Do you know?
I mean, it's if you factor in like YouTube and everything, like you're really closing in on 100 million. Some of the single videos were like, I mean, more than 1 million views on their own, which is fantastic. If we're talking just audio, we're like right in that 25 million range, which is still pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And it's keeping me busy, man. But I'll tell you, as busy as the podcast keeps me, I'm also working on some new things outside of just PCRM, because I wanted an outlet where I can talk about everything that I'm going through.
Yeah.
I mean, I've literally heard from hundreds of people who have, had these mystery illnesses themselves and are turning to anyone or anything that can offer them a little bit of hope along the way. And like I said, like I feel like I'm in a position to do that for people. And so I'm just starting up a newsletter, absolutely free for people, and I'll get you the link to it. As we record this, I haven't even put out the first one. Just kind of a brainchild that came to me over the last couple of weeks, but I've got somebody working on the framework for it for me right now. So by the time this episode comes out, hopefully we can put a link to it in the
show
episode notes. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If anybody that's listening right now has not had a chance to listen to the Exam Room podcast with Chuck, highly recommend it. You will see a total pro in action from the first word that leaves his lips to the last word. And really, I mean, Chuck, you are one of the people. What's that?
It's amateur hour, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But that I aspire to be like as a podcaster, man. You're crushing it. I want to let you know how much I appreciate you coming back on the show almost 5 years later and sharing with us, kind of just the very personal health struggles that you've gone through and being vulnerable. That to me is, as I get older, I realize that showing vulnerability really is one of the greatest strengths that a person can have. So I appreciate that.
I mean, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It's like you are a major inspiration to me, just in terms of the volume of people that you reach, the good food that you're putting out in major stores. Are you kidding me right now, to be in Target? Like how great that is. Like that's massive, brother. Like you're reaching an audience or a demographic of people that like need it the most, but have never had these grab and go options before. And it's just like unbelievable what you're doing, and continue to do with your workshops and your events. And it's just like, brother, you're a 10 of 10 in the good people scale. And you were actually the first person that made me comfortable being vulnerable the first time coming on your show and talking about some of the traumatic things that have happened to me in my past. For whatever reason, you made me feel comfortable opening up about it. So,
well, what was wild, just to revisit that for a sec, is I think you had interviewed me. I had also interviewed Neil. I had come there to interview Neil. And then I was like, who is this Chuck Carroll guy? And what's he all about? And I asked you, and you gave me like a 5-minute answer. I go, you know what? If you're cool with it, I want to have you on the podcast right now. Let's just like make this happen. And you're like, let's do it. And then I can remember at one point I asked you a couple of questions and you're like, oh, geez, you know what? Why not? Let's go there.
Yep. That's exactly how it went too. That's exactly how it went. I was like, okay, here we go. Yeah.
Let's go. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, I listen, I loved it. That was a great interview I had with you.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to it. It's number 7, Plan Strong Family. All right. Hey, Chuck, listen, middle of January, we will be sending you lots of love and light, and I can't wait to hear all the good news. All
I
right.
appreciate you, my brother. I'll send you updates from Rochester, Minnesota and the Mayo Clinic.
Please do. Hey, now, you know what we have to do on the way out, don't you?
Keep it plant strong.
Well, we
Walk
do.
me through
We
it.
do.
It's been a while.
No, I know.
It's been a while.
We're gonna definitely keep it plan strong, but you're gonna give me a virtual plan strong fist bump. Boom!
Okay. Boom.
Plan strong, baby.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
See ya. Chuck's openness is a reminder that health is never a straight line, and that facing chronic illness isn't a personal failure, even when you're making all the best choices that you possibly can. If this episode resonated with you, I would encourage you to share it with someone who may need reassurance that they are not alone on their journey. By the way, I want you to know that Chuck is starting his own newsletter for those who are battling chronic illness, and this is to help others find that support and community that they so desperately are seeking. For details on all of that, you can find the link in today's show notes. Until next week, be compassionate towards others, because we never really know what people are battling. Let's be sure to lean into the community. And as always, let's always keep it plan strong.